You wouldn't steal a handbag. You wouldn't steal a car. You wouldn't steal a baby. You wouldn't shoot a policeman and then steal his helmet. You wouldn't go to the toilet in his helmet and then send it to the policeman's grieving widow and then steal it again. Downloading films is stealing. If you do it, you will face the consequences.
All right, let's go, 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 go!
Hey there, welcome to Cordkillers, our mission to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so you can decide, I want to keep cable, because that lets me watch what I want, when I want, where I want, on any device you please. To which I say, please tell me what mythical cable company allows you to do that, but that's cool, as long as you get to do that. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey man, I'm Brian Brushwood, and I'm deeply disappointed that I failed you on the opening video. We grabbed this one. I was poking around. Usually I'll, check out what's hot on Reddit for an opening video, but in this case I couldn't find anything related. What you heard, audio listeners, was the opening to a segment on the IT Crowd where they were parodying the anti-piracy ads. But then, seconds before we go live, our guest, Christy Cates, reminds me that there was an epic ad. First of all, let's bring Christy Cates in there. Christy Cates, how are you doing, girl?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Really, really good. Christy Cates,
Good.
if you don't mind, Zach, could you, I'm going to ask you to kind of call something up here. It's on the YouTubes. If you look up Blah Airlines, and it's an ad from Virgin America, I assume, where it's 6 hours of footage of sitting in the middle seat.
It's a flight from New York to San Francisco long, essentially.
Yes.
And the entire thing goes nonstop the entire way through. And well, here, just take a look. This is what it looks like.
More peanuts. More peanuts.
The whole thing's reenacted with dummies.
Peanuts.
I want to know where they got those vintage United Airlines seats.
Peanuts.
And my favorite part is if you watch it on YouTube, somewhere around the 5 hours and 40 minutes mark, the guy next to you starts bragging about how he's going to a convention in San Francisco of internet-based magicians, which to me, which is especially funny because I know Scam School was carried on the Virgin America in-flight entertainment. So being an internet-based magician, I can't help but assume that was a wink to me personally.
I say,
flying is magic, I think, was the,
Yeah.
was the tag.
Call this up on your big screen, sit back for 5 hours and 46 minutes of 1998. I was actually watching the in-flight movie for a while.
Oh wait, did they show the in-flight movie on there for a while? That's so good. It's if you jump around, like at some point the captain comes on and he starts explaining like I came in midway through his conversation and he's like a lot of people don't realize that when you look out the window and things seem very small, they're not small. They're just very far away. That's perspective. Anyway,
So
look.
good.
And there's every flight cliche in the book too. There's crying babies and like people just zoning out, and it's great.
Picking your seat.
Playing
Yeah.
peekaboo with you from the seat in front
Yeah.
of you. Anyway,
And they're mannequins, so it's more scary.
I think us describing it was probably a more pleasant experience than actually sitting there watching all 6 hours. But it was an amazing, bold maneuver. And you're right, Christy. We totally should have done something with that. But instead, I guess we got to jump right in on our primary target.
We got big news. Big news.
Do we?
Yeah. Jump in. Don't wait.
So you say.
Put your feet in the primary target and
We
soak them.
shall. Yes, let's do that.
Yeah, so everybody is going online only, apparently. On Wednesday, HBO CEO Richard Plepler told Time Warner investors at an investor presentation, and don't forget Time Warner, not Time Warner Cable, but Time Warner owns HBO. Plepler said, in 2015, we will launch a standalone over-the-top HBO service in the United States. Everyone on the internet exploded with like cheering and hurrahs and hopefulness. And then the next day, Thursday, CBS said, oh, forget that vague promise of sometime next year with no details. We're launching a streaming service right now for Cordkillers. 6,500 classic episodes, 15 shows the day after they air, live TV in 14 markets, with more to come as we strike deals with our affiliates for $6 a month. And the internet said, boo, you don't get it, CBS. And by the way, just to add to the pile on, today Lionsgate announced that they are going to launch a service in 2015 called Tribeca Shortlist, which will offer movies such as The Hunger Games for people for a monthly fee of some sort. The details are yet to be determined.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. It's astonishing to me that, number one, quick shout out to our fans, all 8 billion of them who sent us direct messages, emails, @replies, like specifically the moment HBO made that announcement, they're all like, I have one best friend who's really going to care about this. And they all reacted at once, which on the one hand, we got this story a lot. On the other hand, I couldn't be more proud that our little horse apples discussions that we have resonate with so many people that the moment they heard this, they're like, I got to tell my buddies, Tom and Brian, my bosses, or my employees, Tom and Brian, about this so that they could talk about that. And we thank all of you guys for that.
Well, now, so this is what's interesting is people got very excited about HBO, and I went on the morning stream with Scott Johnson that day and tried, and on Daily Tech News Show, we talked about it with Andrew Zarian, and tried to say, well, hold on, we don't know what they're going to do. It could be because he goes on to say, by the way, we will work with our current partners. That's the cable companies, right?
Right.
And we will explore models with new partners. All in all, there are 80 million homes that do not have HBO, and we will use all our means at our disposal to go after them. So he's not going to risk his relationships with the current cable partners. What we're seeing is him trying to say, we are going to do what you want, but we're also going to do what they want. And to me, that sounded like they're going to have a service that will be bundled in with your ISP. So Comcast, the most likely to say, hey, with Xfinity service, it's $50 a month for our 100 megabit per second service, and for an extra fee, you'll get HBO without a TV subscription, because that's going to help Comcast. Now, the Information, which is a site, it's a subscription-only site that does a lot of tech reporting, claims that their sources report that the service would be about $15 a month, which is roughly what it costs to add it to a cable subscription. Peter Kafka notes that all these services, the CBS one included, give leverage to the cable company now when negotiating cable carriage, because unlike before, when the cable company would say, yeah, go ahead and go online, there's nobody out there, there's people out there now. And so CBS can say, well, they can get us online if you want to just let us take the money from them directly. We'd rather work something out. So this is a big signal that the playing field has changed.
Now, forgive me if I'm wrong on this, but reading the story, and now, there are so many stories, I'm not going to be able to isolate which one that I read it, but I could almost swear that there was a hint given that they would start with international partners first on this kind of thing, that eventually it would come to the U.S. You're wrinkling your brow, which makes me think that
I didn't see that. Where did you see that?
Wait, I predicated this by saying I won't be able to tell you where I saw it because there's so many stories.
But the press release that they announced said in 2015, we will launch a standalone over-the-top HBO service in the United States. Now, they have done HBO Nordic already, right?
Here we go. It says here, the Recode story says he plans to sell HBO on the web. Plepler was specifically talking about HBO's deals with international pay TV networks who license HBO programming, but he will certainly use the same leverage, and again, these aren't his words, this is the article talking about it, use the same leverage when he deals with paid TV distributors in the U.S. So in the context, when the actual quote was spoken, according to the article on Recode, it sounded like he was talking about international pay TV networks.
I'm quoting from HBO's press release when I say HBO service in the United States. Yeah, you're talking about the other reason the TV guys are moving to the web?
Yes, correct. He says, quote, just the threat of going over the top gives us average leverage. And again, according to the article, who knows?
Okay. Yeah. No, I see what you're talking about. He says the threat of going over the top gives us added leverage. And then Kafka says he was specifically talking about deals with international pay TV networks who license HBO programming. But when they do this over-the-top service next year in the United States, it will give them the same leverage with pay TV distributors in the U.S. So he's trying to make it clear, like, Plepler wasn't threatening U.S. pay TV cable television networks. He was actually just talking about his international deals.
Correct. All right, so we're going to speculate wildly about what this will look like and what it'll mean. But in the meantime, Christy, when you read the story, what was the first thing that popped into your mind?
The first thing that popped into my mind was what's going to happen when all of these start breaking apart, and how much are we going to have to pay per? And by the time you pay for each one, are you going to be paying the same as you're paying for a Comcast subscription anyway? And then secondarily, the quality issue. For instance, we were trying to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. the other night, and the Xfinity website was horrible. I mean, the quality was really bad. It was just jittery and jumpy all over the place. We said, okay, fine. We'll switch to the ABC TV stream of it, just as bad. And I mean, that's the kind of thing that if they want you to buy it separately, there should at least be a quality element to it, so it's worth paying that separate fee every single time. And then, like I said, and how many do you need to stack to get the shows you want? And what's it going to end up being in the end? Man,
that's a tough question, because what you're essentially getting back to is the question of convenience versus fidelity, because it's like, let's say all things being equal. And number one, this is going to make some people wince to hear me say it, but I don't mind if we end up spending the same $120 a month for all of our content that we're accustomed to in the cable world, as long as we get to watch what we want, when we want, on whatever damn device we feel like. However, having said that, you can have that availability to go anywhere and call it all up, because right now you get a high fidelity transmission on your HD feed that's recorded on your DVR, but you have to be wise enough to know the right channel and program your DVR and tell it in advance to record things ahead of time and so on. Whereas like you get a time travel element by being a lazy bones and being able to just say after the fact, oh wait, now I want to watch that program from last week. And the trade-off is it's stuttery and it doesn't go well. You have to wait for it to buffer. To be honest, I think I'm comfortable, even if that's just a tit for tat and A for B trade-off. I think I would still take that, which I don't know. I feel dirty saying out loud. Tom, what's your gut say on how much this is going to mean and how soon?
I still okay. First of all, Christy's totally right. The ISP services are going to have to get up to speed on this, and so it's going to take some peering arrangements. It's going to make sure. And Christy, I don't mean to pry, but how much of a connection do you have? What's your speed? What's your broadband speed?
You know, it varies so much. I don't even want to say, because it's absolutely horrible. We have a Comcast account. We have the Xfinity system. You know, I called them to just buy internet, and we went through the whole thing that everyone's gone through where, oh, I just really want internet. Oh, well, if you buy internet, it's going to cost you more. So take this TV and it'll cost you less. So it's so up and down. I keep pinging it, and it's just one night it's okay, and the next night it's bad. I mean, it's just you can't do anything.
That really is a problem that I think will become less frequent. Some people don't have that problem. Other people's obviously do, right?
Yeah.
And I think as these things become more common, you'll see bandwidth improve. That used to be true of streaming audio as well. And stuff moves slowly, but it changes over time, right? Yeah. So you're totally right. That problem has to be addressed. I am optimistic that it can be. The question of cost, though, I think Brian nailed it, which is this is going to end up costing us around the same or more. The benefit will be you won't be paying for things you don't watch. I was just going to say that. You're not going to get all these channels that you never use them. They just kind of sit there. There's this big long list of stuff. So, I mean, that is a benefit. At least then you have curated content that you're curating yourself. Your channels are curated. They're only channels you pick. So that's a good thing. And when you go through a tough period, you can't be like, well, I can either cut cable and lose it all or just keep spending money. You can actually say, I really haven't been watching that much on CBS. Let me knock that $6 a month. Okay, that helps a little. It gives you more control. It's a la carte, so you can pick and choose. Yeah. This is how a la carte arrives. Yeah. Well, and also, and this is one of the weird things is I mean, if us now could talk to us 3 years ago, as we were loudly saying how bad we want a la carte, and now I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't want a la carte. That's terrible. They're going to just charge us more for everything. It's like, give us the buffet. I liked it when we could just watch whatever we wanted at any given time. I think it's interesting, too, to watch the total change of reactions. I think most of the reactions to HBO versus CBS relate to the content. In other words, everybody wants to watch Game of Thrones, and in their head, they'll pay a lot of money to do that. Whereas CBS doesn't have as many popular shows with the internet crowd. They're seen as an older skewing demographic, which is true. And so saying $6 a month for a bunch of shows I don't want to watch gets met with a cold response. I don't think CBS cares.
I don't
They're
even
saying,
think
we want to make this available so that we can see how many people actually use it. The price may go down over time. We may, we'll improve it over time for sure. But this is a test and a bargain. And CBS, I know this because when I worked there at CBS Interactive at CNET, they made a big deal about authentication. We want to authenticate that people are watching our stuff. This is them following that plan. They never joined Hulu Plus because they want to control you. They want to control who is watching their stuff. And in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if their hope is that 20 years down the road, everybody is watching this way, even if it's a little cheaper.
I don't even know that it's a statement about the quality of the content or even about how well it resonates with an internet-based crowd. I think it boils down to HBO, our entire life, has been the single most expensive, barring pornography, the single most expensive premium cable outlet that there is. CBS has always been free. So we hear two things. The most expensive guys say, hey, we want to figure out a way for you to pay less to get just our service. And we hear the cheapest, freest guys saying, we would like 2 cents from you. And then we're like, the one we're like, it was free and now you want to charge us $6. And then the HBO, we're like, it was $1 million and now it's only 800,000. That's rad. So it's like, I feel like that it's a positioning issue that causes what I believe is an unfair response in that regard. So here's my question to both of you guys. Again, we don't know and we won't know, and it'll come out and we'll all be surprised or not surprised. It'll either be bundled with existing ISP services or sold independently. Let's say, for sake of discussion, that they take a Netflix type idea or an attitude and just offer the HBO Go service exactly as it exists now. What is the price point that they do and why?
Apparently it's $15.
They would have to be competitive, really.
Is it 15?
I mean, it's 15. Is that what it says on?
That's what Martin Pierce seems to think. Yeah.
Okay.
See, I don't think it will be. I think it'll be more expensive, mainly because I would pay more than 15.
So you're calling Martin Pierce a liar?
Well, I mean, first of all, what is he? A source familiar with the matter?
No, he's a reporter. He knows a source familiar with the matter. But yeah, I think it will be. Here's a scenario I'll throw out there that I think is likely. I'm not sure if it's most likely yet or not. $15 a month for anyone in the United States to get HBO independent. You will not be able to watch same day. There'll be an extra restriction. Like HBO Go will still have an advantage if you're a subscriber to the cable package. And then they will also have bundles with Comcast, Time Warner Cable, maybe Cablevision, where you can get an internet and HBO package that is cheaper. It's only $8 a month to add HBO, which allows the company to try to upsell you to cable television.
So it's almost different levels, like Netflix. I don't know if they still do or not. The different levels of when they used to have, get this many DVDs a month or that many DVDs a month.
And now they have like multiple streaming packages where it's like your default option, you can have up to 2 simultaneous streaming things. But it's like now as I get, my kids growing up, I'm going to have to bump up to the 4 simultaneous streams plan. So it could be similar to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like, not Mark says, I do not understand forcing folks to wait a day to watch what they're paying for. Again, this is why pirating TV shows continues to grow. It's called windowing. It's been around forever. You make them wait because you would rather them have a different kind of behavior.
Well, also,
and I think, it's so funny to me is that here we are. 3 years ago, these two stories would have blown our minds. And now we're going, okay, HBO's finally around and CBS is actually doing online only. Who cared? It was almost shrugged off. A major broadcast network in the U.S. just went online only, right? Oh, yeah, I can get it over the air for free. Sure, in most areas, although Aereo existed and you could still get over the air for free and people paid for it, right? It was the ability to have that watch what you want, where you want, anywhere, and it's got a bunch of on demand, and it just gets shrugged off. That's how far down this road we are.
Dude, it's great. It's great to be this spoiled. It's great to be this privileged. It's great to be this entitled. And speaking of which, I'm not going to speak ill of windowing because that's exactly what we do on Cordkillers. As you guys know on the feed, if you listen, we do Cordkillers releases every Monday, and 2 days later we release it spoiler in time. Patrons get early access to it spoiler in time. It is a artificial scarcity that we manufacture in order to make it worth it to make one of you guys our bosses, hopefully. And so it's like, I don't know that it's the worst thing in the world. And for most people, I don't even know that they mind waiting a day. I certainly did not mind waiting a day near the end of Breaking Bad after I'd canceled cable to wait for the next morning to buy Breaking Bad at $1.99, $2.99 an episode in order to get caught up on it. So it's like, it's obviously that system works in that it allows you to, give a privilege to those who are part of your tribe, I guess.
Well, and you get choices as opposed to being just stuck with your list of cable channels and that's all you get. Now like the a la carte thing that you guys were talking about, you can pick. And it's kind of, at least it's better to be able to pick at this point.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, it's spoiler in time being delayed isn't because we're like really using it as a big stick. It's more of a thank you. Like, we'll give it to you a couple days early because we realize it's not as time sensitive as the main show. And frankly, anybody who pledges 1 cent is going to get it. Right?
Yes. Okay.
It is a thank you.
Again,
where it becomes a problem is when you don't have a viable option to get it another way. Right? So if HBO does this and says, we'll delay it a day for the $15 a month crowd, whereas the cable subscribers will get it earlier, what they're saying is you need to pay $65 a month if you want to get it the same day. And it is important for a lot of people. My wife won't let us actually totally get rid of DirecTV because she wants to be able to watch certain things that are only carried on cable as they happen.
Yeah, because she wants to watch what she wants when she wants on
Exactly.
the device
When she
choosing.
wants.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the point right there.
Well, and I guess that's the thing. I just don't want to be accused of hypocrisy since we're not going to take a dump on windowing because we're clearly using that strategy, and I think it's fine in that regard.
I do want to get accused of hypocrisy.
Is this the moment where I lay down a beat for you and you
That
start
would be,
to,
that'd be probably a bad idea. 'Cause
making death
as much as I
threats?
would love to be accused of it, I don't think I could carry it on.
hey man, you know what you can be accused of is having made my dream come true, Tom. How long?
In the year 2000.
In the year 2000.
There will be 2,000 bosses. We'll trade in one boss. And within 1 year, we'll be thrilled to announce we have 2,000 bosses. Tom, it happened.
Woohoo!
Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Oh, standing belly clap. I love it. Dude, we finally hit 2,000 patrons. As you guys know, we're an independently funded little news, I don't know what to call ourselves, institution. And,
we're a show.
We love, love, love serving so many people. Make sure to write us and refer to us as your boss. We couldn't be more happy. We're much more concerned with the number of bosses than necessarily how much you guys donate. Of course, everything helps. It allows us to pay for infrastructure. It allowed us to build the studio. It allowed us to nowadays we're able to buy equipment and test it out. And it's all because of you guys. Thank you so much. Head on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers. And why don't you become one of our bosses as well?
Y'all rock. Now we're going to bring you Signals Intelligence. Thanks to you.
The Signals Intelligence brought to you by you.
That's actually my favorite thing that people have done on Daily Tech News Show is they send me little things to play before the show like, this episode is brought to you by me.
That's awesome. Praise me.
So Netflix is not brought. Well, Netflix is brought to you by you because you got to pay for it, and their earnings are slowing. Actually, their earnings are doing okay. It's the subscribership in the United States that's slowing. They still grew. They added 980,000 customers in the last quarter, but that's down from 1.29 million a year ago. And they had predicted they would add 1.33 million. So it was quite a bit slower than they'd expected. They did raise their price over the last year, so that may have had something to do with it. Internationally, they're doing quite well. They grew 72% to 15.84 million from a year earlier. And they still have 30 some million in the US, 15.84 overseas. So that's they're doing fine. Net income rose 59.3 million, 96 cents a share from 31.8 million a year ago, or 52 cents a share. So they're making scads of money, even if this growth is not as fast as maybe they had expected. But all of that doesn't matter because the HBO announcement happened the day before Netflix announced their earnings, and everybody said, I'm selling your stock, Netflix. Your growth is slowing and HBO's coming for you.
Well, first of all, it is not insignificant that they definitely missed their targets as far as growth. They projected 1.29 or
1.33.
1.33, and came in at under 1 million new subscriptions, which is substantial. However, it's also to be expected because they altered their pricing, right? They've raised their pricing on new subscribers, and there's talk about even grandfathered folks eventually getting their raised pricing. So it makes sense that they would slow down. It just seems to me like this is more of that bizarre Wall Street voodoo that I don't seem to understand, where it's like they can make a crap ton of money, but it wasn't the crap ton of money we expected. It's slightly less, therefore.
And the slowing subscriber growth is surprising, right? Netflix didn't think it was going to slow this much. Christy, do you have any guesses, like, if there's anything else besides the price increase, or is that enough?
I don't know. I mean, at first I was going to say that so many people have Netflix that everyone just already has it. But now reading this again, yeah, I don't know. Everyone complained about the price when they raised it, and I just didn't think it was that significant of an increase to discourage people from getting the service. So I don't really have an answer. The only thing is maybe it's being broken up by some of the other things like Amazon Prime. So maybe people's money is getting divided a little more to some of the additional services that are now available that when Netflix started, there weren't so many to choose from.
Yeah, I think that could be a hidden part of this. Is Amazon Prime finally is something that is useful, right?
Yeah.
It's something that has a lot of back catalog. It's starting to have hits in its originals finally as well.
Well, but also it's amazing to me, and I don't know if I got the chance to share this before. My 2-year-old has discovered Blue's Clues, so we don't go to the Netflix app on our Xbox. We go to the Amazon Prime app, and once you're in that ecosystem, it's so much easier to just kind of poke around and see what else is there rather than go on to the other thing. And it's like you notice little things. Like, for example, we'll talk about this later. The kids are rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender series because it's on the Prime ecosystem, but not on Netflix. I think that could have something to do with it, but in general, I gotta feel like Netflix is still barreling forward. I mean, the fact 72% growth year over year for international,
yeah,
is astonishing. It's astonishing, especially this late in their development. They're 15 years into the more than 15 years into the Netflix experience, and now they're seeing this freight train barreling down. I got to feel like this is a misstep in the market. That I think you're right, Tom, that they're overreacting to the HBO announcement. Because remember, Netflix has more subscribers than HBO. Full stop. Let me say that again. Netflix has more subscribers than HBO. It's like you don't see Coke crapping their pants because Pepsi releases Crystal Pepsi or whatever. It's like I mean they're number one and they've got all the momentum.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
No,
I think this is a significant decrease, and I think you're right. Stock market, whatever, overreaction, but 980K when they expected 1.33, there's something else going on. It's not just the price increase. I wonder if the fact that they changed their marketing, they used to do a lot of marketing through supporting podcasts and online ads. They changed that, right? They didn't totally get rid of it, but they really reduced the amount of that. Maybe that was more effective for them, or maybe that was more effective in the earlier days, and they're starting to hit a group of people who are less likely to sign up for Netflix because they don't quite understand how to get it. Well, they may be hitting that wall as well.
And I guess also their story has changed because just 5 years ago, their story was the young punk upstart. And again, like once you become the king, your entire story changes, right? And it's like now they're the established place for Netflix originals and for a giant catalog, but not as giant as you'd like because now everyone just loves to talk about all the things that aren't on Netflix at any given time. So I don't know. This could be just a hiccup. I can't predict nothing. I don't know. What do you say, Christy?
I don't know. Do you think it's because like he said, they're not doing as much advertising anymore. They're kind of, I don't want to say complacent
I mean, they
because
shouldn't-
obviously
they
they're
shouldn't
working
need
to
to,
do the
right?
original programming, but there's just, I don't really see ads for Netflix anymore at all, anywhere.
I mean, Netflix is synonymous with the cord-cutting revolution,
Yeah,
right? So it's like
exactly.
once they're positioned as number one, really it's up to the movement to guide them forward. And maybe that's what it was, is that they were just betting, now that we're number one, we don't need to do anything
We're good.
because this is
Yeah.
the way the trends are going, and then we're all set.
And they're like, oh, wait, we already had all the cord cutters. We actually do need to advertise.
Yeah,
And
maybe
more.
so.
Yeah. All right, let's gear up because we actually have a new piece of gear to talk about. What? Ladies and gentlemen, the Nexus Player, the first official Google TV, I said Google TV, Android TV device. It's based on Android 5.0 Lollipop, available for pre-order right now in the United States and Canada. It'll, tell me if this sounds familiar, Christy and Brian, cost you $99, has a Bluetooth remote and voice search, has access to a store for adding other apps, and you can play games on it with a gamepad sold separately for $40.
Oh, no. I know this one. This is, if I'm not mistaken, the details of, what was it called? I think it was called the Every Other Attached Device Ever. Is that what
Yeah,
they named
pretty
it?
much. Specifically the Fire TV. Like,
Yeah.
just take the name Nexus Player off, put Fire TV on, and say Amazon App Store instead of Google Play Store, and you've got the same product. Although this is compatible with Google Cast, Fire TV is as well, I think.
The
but
Nexus Player doesn't have Amazon Prime on it, though, does it?
no, because there is no Amazon Prime Instant Player for it yet. However, I do think Amazon Prime's Instant Player is Chromecast compatible, so you could send it from a computer or a phone.
Oh, yeah. Okay, you could do that. Yeah.
So, but you're right. That is a big difference because you buy
Yeah.
the Fire TV, you're getting that Amazon Instant Video Player.
Yeah.
Right there.
And by the way, first of all, I am notorious on this program for saying that all of these devices feel underpowered to me. A 1.8 gigahertz quad-core Intel Atom processor with a gig of RAM and 8 gigs of internal storage does not feel underpowered to me. Like I will shut up. I will officially shut up about underpowered set-top boxes at this point if this becomes the new standard.
The limiting factor is usually the bandwidth, as Christy was talking about earlier. It's the power of the processor is less the gating factor than like I just can't get the bits into it fast enough.
Yeah. The other thing I'm trying to figure out is what the advantages are over the Roku I already have. I mean, what makes this stand out? What's the big difference in this between this and all the other ones?
I mean,
What are you
part
guys
of it
seeing?
is, and again, as much as we roll our eyes about like, well, it's the brand value of the word Android. Like we can roll our eyes at that, but I think that is a substantial benefit. I think that, okay, quit rolling your eyes. I saw that, Tom.
Stop looking at the monitor.
That's right. But I do think there's some value to it. And I'll tell you what, man, it's starting to look like Fire as a brand is not doing so hot for Amazon. It's like they're giving away free Fire phones now, and the Fire TV doesn't seem to be really catching fire, so to speak.
Big Fire's going out.
They got away from the Google TV name, and they're launching new. I don't think it's going to beat Roku. I think Roku is again, it's like their target demographic are the kind of people who would never consider hooking up a PC to their living room television. And with that being the case, I don't know that they have the brand positioning to get ahead of Roku, but I think this is I don't know, it's a fine attempt.
What do you guys think of the gaming element that they have with this?
Ugh.
I see there's a controller, but
I mean, you do that so that your grandkids will play Angry Birds. I mean, there's only one game. It's like when your uncle bought a Nintendo Entertainment System and you're like, what games do you like? It was like, well, I've got Super Mario because it came
Duck
with
Hunt.
it. Like it's like there's only one game that comes with it. Same with the Wii and all that stuff.
yeah.
Well, they have some decent Android games, and Fire TV has some decent Android-based games on there. But I've never known anyone who was enthusiastic about playing them, especially enough to pay almost half the price of the original device to get the game controller.
Yeah.
I mean,
Agreed.
I have to say, as nice as a machine as this is, I'm with you, Christy. Why would I buy this instead of a $70 or a $50 Roku? I don't see the big advantage for it unless you live in the Google universe. If you're like, oh, but I bought so many movies on Google Play and
Everything's
so many
Google, yeah.
TV shows, then this is the device for you.
Yeah. I think the mere fact that none of us can really think of anything to say about this kind of speaks volumes.
So here's the thing, Brian. Usually when these things get announced, I pre-order them, I try them out. Do you want to do it this time?
No, I don't. And I guess that's everything we need to say about this, right? Like
That's it. Yeah,
to be honest,
I did not go
here we
rush
are.
to
Here we
pre-order.
are sitting on 2,000 patrons. We have a budget for this kind of thing now, but it's like between the two of us, it's like, do you want to play with
We
it?
probably should, but neither one of us really wants to.
I mean, you know what? As soon as one of our bosses writes us and says, like, no, seriously, I really want you to try this out, then we'll try it. My guess is, out of our 2,000 bosses, people are going to be like, yeah, I don't think I care either.
Now, the other way that you can support Cordkillers is by helping us out with other projects. Brian's always talking about scam stuff. You should go check it out. There's great stuff there in support of the Scam School show. And I do another show myself called Sword and Laser, Science Fiction Fantasy Book Club. And we have a store as well, because whatever Brian does works for us. So swordandlaser.com/store, where you can buy all kinds of items for scamming drinks at the, well, no, actually, it's just Sword and Laser.
Well, you
associated
can
stuff.
you can regale people with tales of.
We do have a flask.
All the wait, you guys got a flask?
Yeah.
Let
we
me
have
see your
drinkware.
flask. There it is. Nice. So yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna give you my entire. Man, that looks. Who makes that flask?
I can't say.
Okay, that's fine. Like, you can't say because you don't know, or because you're not allowed
Brian,
to
it's
say?
because I can't remember his name and I feel really bad.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. Dude, I love it.
He made these and he gave us all to him at Nerdtacular, and then now we're like, it's turned into a little cottage business.
Oh, that's great. That's so great. And I'll tell you what, this is people. You hear people lamenting the death of mom and pop shops back in the 1950s or whatever. Guess what? It's back and it's more efficient than ever. You can actually support stuff that is definitely sitting in our garages right now by going to scam stuff into swordandlaser.com. Man, I'm so excited, and thank you to everybody who kicks us a few bucks to get something out of it.
Let's fire up the front lines.
Yeah,
or maybe
go
not
to
fire.
them.
That brand doesn't work.
Walk to the
Walk slowly.
Front.
Amble to the front lines.
Yes.
So I wrote our notes in note form. I hope that doesn't throw you off. Aereo Chief Executive Officer Chet Kanogia met with FCC Chairman Tom Wheeler last week, actually on October 8th, to advocate for online programming to be added to the definition of a multi-channel programming video distributor, MPVD. You've heard us talk about this before. This is the first confirmation we have that Kanogia directly asked for it to happen. This would be a big victory for any company attempting to create an online multi-channel television service. Remember that Discovery refused to let Sky Angel carry its channel online. If Sky Angel could be classified as an MPVD, Discovery could not flat out refuse, because if a programmer has a stake in a distribution service, which Discovery does, it is required to sell its programming to MPVDs, which is the big advantage.
All right, so real quick, I can guarantee you I'm going to take an extension on this. First of all, Tom, if I understand correctly, Sky Angel like didn't even get a chance to hear an offer or whatever. They were told full stop, no, not going to happen, right? But even if they were an MPVD, Discovery still could have demanded a price that would have priced them out of it, right? Like that's the whole problem with Aereo. This doesn't really solve anything.
Well, yes and no. Discovery has to provide reasonable offers to MPVDs, right?
Whatever that means.
So in other words, what Sky Angel could do is if Discovery says, okay, fine, we have to make you an offer. It's $1,000 per subscriber. Sky Angel could go to the FCC and go, hey, these guys are way out of market, right? So Discovery would have to walk that line of like, okay, how much is reasonable? And here's the thing. That's not what it was about. Discovery wasn't trying to screw over Sky Angel on price. They just said, oh, you're going to be on the internet without regional restrictions. We just don't want to be involved in that. So we're just not going to even negotiate with you.
So here's my question, and I'm going to take a second extension on this. I'm sorry. I'm gonna use Tom's extension for this next part.
Freely given.
The question is, does this save or even introduce the possibility of saving Aereo as a business? Because as I understand it right now, like they're not providing their service. They're completely frozen in carbonite, right?
Well, yeah, this if the FCC classifies them as an MPVD, then they could go to the individual broadcast networks and try to negotiate a reasonable carriage fee, and then they would have to jack the price up.
So the question to Christy is do you feel like there's a chance this is the kind of thing that could save Aereo or no?
I'm not sure. I think it's going to depend on what they come back with to their customers and what that price is. It's a price point thing again, because if they don't get enough customers, it's not going to matter.
I mean, I guess that's the one thing, like the entire discussion about the legality of Aereo, not once has anyone really paused to consider like, well, is it worth $10 a month or would it be worth $20 a month or whatever?
Yeah.
I know some people liked it, but our friend Roberto.
$6, says CBS.
Yep. Hey, man, so ComScore surveyed a bunch of young folks, and guess what? Turns out the younger a viewer is, the less likely they are to watch on a television. In other related news, the sky is blue and things fall down. 24% of 18 to 34-year-olds say they're not subscribing to pay TV. 13% say they've cut the cord. 11% say they never had a cord. I got to be honest, I'm surprised that those numbers aren't flipped. I'm surprised that more people cut the cord than ever had it to begin with.
Christy, what do you think? I mean, this does seem a little bit like a sky is blue thing, but the numbers are getting bigger and bigger.
I don't know. It's kind of obvious. I think it depends on what you grew up with, like where you started watching your content, and that's what you're going to gravitate to.
Well, and I was a cord cutter throughout the 90s. I never paid for a cable subscription the entire time I lived in Austin. And I had to basically just say, I don't watch a lot of TV. You know, I recorded some stuff on VCR over the air, right? Because it was the 90s. But now it's much easier to cut that cord. It's much easier for folks to say, you know what? I really don't see the need to pay $90 a month for cable television when I have so many things that I can watch online. And if somebody like me was willing to just give up watching a bunch of shows because they didn't want to pay for cable then, there's so much more you can watch now.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's one thing to have that be our default assumption, and I feel like that's all. You know, look, I mean, that's why we're in this club. But it's another thing to have evidence that backs things up. This is one of those kind of the unsung hero of transformations, is that you have what everybody knows, but it's not fact until like studies like this back it up. So it's good to hear that we're at least, right in the right direction.
So the TV networks and the cable companies can't say nobody's cutting the cord.
Right. Exactly.
Finally, upgraded Amazon Instant Video apps for the PlayStation 3, the PlayStation 4, and certain TVs from LG and Samsung can now show photos and videos that you store in Amazon Cloud Drive, because you can now know that Amazon Cloud Drive is a place to store things. This is great for users as long as they're in Germany, the United States, and the United Kingdom.
I'll tell you what, this is a bigger deal than you think, because we talk about how empires are built on cutting out, 20 seconds of extra effort from point A to point B. The mere fact that Blue's Clues is in Amazon Prime space has me discovering all these other shows in the Amazon Prime space. And I'll tell you what, if I just swipe over one more thing in my Xbox and all of a sudden there's our home videos from this vacation and they're not publicly available, they're in our lockbox or whatever, that would be huge to make it easy to share. Is this something you would use, Christy?
Yeah, I actually like this a lot. I think this is very cool because, like you said, another thing too is that not just families, but if you have friends over and you want to share videos and stuff and you have them all up on the cloud drive, it's kind of like, when your grandparents try to show you a slideshow or your old uncle of their like vacation photos, but it's kind of like an upgrade of that, which is a lot cooler.
In fact, the Nexus Player would suddenly become a player to me if they said you can access any photos and videos that you're storing in Google Drive.
Oh, there you go.
Because I'm using Google Drive, right?
Yeah.
Lots of people use Google Drive.
Well, and in fact, we started homeschooling Penelope, and we're trying to figure out a laptop solution. And I think I'm sold on the idea of getting her a Chromebook, one of the higher end Chromebooks, just so that everything will be in the cloud, and I don't have to worry about her screwing it up or having everything lost with the virus or whatever. And it's like that's the kind of thing where it's like all of her work instantly available on any computer or device or even in the living room would be amazing.
Maybe that exists already. Maybe I'm just not seeing it on this Nexus Player.
I'm sure somebody will write us at cordkillers@gmail.com and let us know. Let's go under surveillance.
All right, so a bunch of stuff getting launched for you to watch.
Under surveillance.
And that's what we talk about in this segment. Netflix is co-producing a series with Show Me, which is a VOD service from Canadian TV channel City and telco Rogers. So it's essentially a Netflix competitor that Netflix is co-producing a series with. Anyway, it's called Between. It's a 6-episode series that follows the story of a strange disease in a small town that has abolished everyone under 21 years old. Created by Michael McGowan, director of Still Mine and 1 Week.
Real quick, the word says abolished anyone under 21. I'm going to assume that's a euphemism for like they're dead, right? Like
I guess
they
we
died?
don't know. Like they're just gone. Are they?
Is it a Logan's Run sort of thing?
Yeah. I mean, are they
you know what?
dead?
Maybe that is what it is. Like
leftovers.
That would be a crazy disease where if you get it as an old person, you just have a flu. But if you get it as a kid, it like transforms into a super virulent version. And so it's like they have to kick you out of society if you're under 21 and have the disease. Like kind of like the way we're freaking out about Ebola right now.
Which you don't have to worry about if you don't live in
my favorite tweet. My favorite tweet. I very rarely retweet people I've never heard of or met of or know what they're talking about. But somebody said, somebody tweeted and said, I'd tell you, or I'd tweet an Ebola joke, but all caps, you wouldn't get it. And, and so I immediately retweeted that.
So yeah, I think this is interesting. Mostly, I mean, it sounds like an interesting, little mini series. It's also interesting to see Netflix co-producing with someone who's a competitor in their own space to a certain extent. Maybe they don't see Show Me as a competitor because it's VOD. I don't know.
Well, but also it's like competitor is a funny word because all of a lot of their originals came from what would be their competitors in Norway, like the company that made Lillehammer. That was what their first Netflix original would, I assume, technically is their competitor now that they're in the same space.
Not as directly though, right? I mean, a channel on television is a competitor to Netflix in a sense, but it's not an internet-only streaming service like Show Me, which is an internet streaming service. It's interesting.
Is this airing on both of them or just one?
It'll premiere on City TV and then be available elsewhere in the world on Netflix. So if you're on Netflix Canada, you'll have to get it from City TV or Show Me.
Okay.
Yeah, right on.
Last week, Netflix announced every episode of Friends is coming to Netflix starting January 1st of 2015.
So part of me wants to say like, oh, Friends, joke about the 1990s, et cetera, et cetera. However, the fact, to me, the significant part is not the fact that it's Friends. The significant part is that it was all of Friends. This is the advantage that Netflix has over Hulu. Hulu's reputation is that you spend money for the Hulu Plus, and then yet still you only have spotty coverage, kind of this, a few of these, maybe
That's
two of those.
That's usually current shows, though. When they have back catalog, if they have it, they usually have all of it.
That's fine, but again, Netflix has built its brand on whenever possible 100% catalogs every single time, and I'm glad to see this. That's a lot of content, man. And if you're looking for noise to have on, you could certainly do worse than Friends. Friends got away with some reasonably cutting edge naughty stuff in the 90s. There was some stuff that slipped by the censors that I was really pleased to see.
Will you be there for them, Christy?
I like that show. I think it's a good show. Like Brian said, it's one of the shows that kind of what I do with old Star Trek episodes and stuff like that. You can just have them playing. They're familiar. They're fun to watch. Yeah, it's a cool thing to have on Netflix. I like it.
I actually ate dinner downstairs from Monica's apartment when I was in New York. So.
No kidding.
Nice.
Yeah. Joel Hodgson and Trace Beaulieu will reunite on Freaks and Geeks creator Paul Feig's new web series on Yahoo.
Man.
Other Space is the name of the show. It's a, quote, journey in unknown space set in the early 22nd century when the human race has mapped out most of the known universe, failed to find alien life, and frankly gotten a little tired of the whole thing.
Very excited. Very, very excited. Maybe a little bit. Wait, is this really the first time that they've reunited since MST3K? I mean, I got to feel like there's been
no.
several
Cinematic
crossovers.
Titanic has had them back.
Yeah.
It's not the first time. It is reuniting them, but not for the first time.
I love Joel Hodgson, and this sounds kind of like a Red Dwarf kind of sort of premise to me, which is very interesting. I like the synopsis of it. I want to see this one.
And frankly, Bridesmaids was hilarious. So I want to see what Paul Feig can do with Joel Hodgson and Trace Billy. I think it's just interesting that it's on Yahoo.
Well,
maybe this is Yahoo's hit.
Yahoo is the new RC Cola in the like. Congratulations, Yahoo! You're now the weird third place. Supplanting
You've gone from Fago
Hulu
to RC Cola. Congratulations, you've been promoted.
You're no longer Big Red. Congratulations.
And then the DC movie lineup got announced last week. WB said Suicide Squad will be the next DC movie after Batman versus Superman in 2016. In 2017, you'll get a standalone Wonder Woman movie, finally, along with the Justice League movie directed by Zack Snyder. In 2018, there's going to be a Flash movie starring Ezra Miller and Aquaman starring Jason Momoa. In 2019, Shazam with Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam and Justice League 2. And then in 2020, a Cyborg movie and another shot at Green Lantern.
So the farther out these confirmations come, the more certain I am that they will not come to pass. I mean, do you think there's any chance that they can lock in a Shazam movie with Dwayne Johnson specifically in more than 5 years from now?
I'm not sure about your skepticism with the production of the movie. I think it's more skepticism if anybody will go watch it.
Well, yes, exactly. Here's my point: is like you could say all of these things, which it's amazing to me that they were able to give so many specifics that far out. But again, it's easy to fall into tribalism, and I don't understand pro wrestling, but I had a friend of mine explain to me his excitement for it, and this is back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when it was WWE versus WCW. He said, he was like, basically, it's like, look, man, if you like wrestling, you want as many wrestling networks as possible, and if you like superhero movies, you want as many competing franchises as possible. And in that regard, I'm more of a Marvel guy, but I certainly know that nothing will keep Marvel at the top of their game like the threat of DC supplanting their franchise.
Christy, you DC or Marvel?
Marvel. I was just going to say I agree with Brian, but there are a couple here that I like Jason Momoa, so I'm kind of interested to see what he'll do with that one. The rest of them,
Dothraki speaking Aquaman?
Yeah, it might be interesting. I don't know. Green Lantern was so bad the first time, I'm not really sure if there's hope for that one. So, but yeah, I don't know. I'm more a Marvel Universe girl, I guess.
This is going to be the problem, right? It's not that they can't pull it off. It's not that they can't make. I mean, they got Zack Snyder directing a Justice League movie. It's, can they convince anyone from the Marvel side to look at this as anything else but a pale imitation of what Marvel has pulled off with the Avengers?
I feel like the DC superheroes just aren't as strong as the Marvel ones. I don't know why. They just seem more thinly drawn than the Marvel ones.
Well, but this is also
Marvel's not even playing with their top benchers.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
They did this with the Avengers. They didn't do this with Spider-Man.
Yeah, if you want to read some interesting stuff, the first half of Grant Morrison's book, Super Gods, talks about the archetypes. Like, I never understood the appeal of the DC universe because it was all so black and white. It was also simplistic. It's like, once you have all the powers like Superman, what's the point? But he did a good job of saying why that resonated at the time. And then he talked about in the Silver Age of comics why Marvel did something that needed to be done, which introduced every single character in the Marvel universe is flawed in some way, and they're relatable, and that resonates with us in our generation. But it's a pendulum that goes back and forth, right? I grew up with DC at the height of their game. It's like nobody talked about the Spider-Man movie; they talked about the Superman movie. Nobody talked about in the 90s. Nobody talked about Iron Man. They talked about Batman, and it's a pendulum that goes both ways, and it could be that what we're seeing here is an opportunity for it to swing the other way, assuming that Marvel drops the ball in some way or other. Because we may, already we're starting to see people get tired of the fact that every Marvel movie is there's a magic MacGuffin that will save the world, and these flawed argumentative heroes have to team up and work out differences in order to get it from the other guy. Like that's all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies right now. And who knows where it could go.
This battle will not be fought amongst you people. This battle will be fought amongst the people who don't care about Marvel or DC. That's how they win.
They care about money.
It's whether they can convince the indifferents to go, ooh, that looks interesting. That looks like a good movie.
The strength of the individual movies more
and I think
Correct.
the DC universe is at a disadvantage because I think the average populace is going to be tired of comic book movies pretty soon.
Yeah.
It is getting a bit saturated.
Well, here's what'll happen. Things will get more and more cartoony, and then there'll be a reaction to it. We saw like this upswing started, I guess, really with Batman Begins. Would you agree?
It started with DC.
So Batman Begins comes on the scene with an unnecessary reboot, like just not even a decade since the last Batman movie, but portraying in a believable way this world. And then Iron Man follows suit. Like, it is astonishing to see how different the tone of Iron Man 1 versus Iron Man 3 is. Iron Man 1 starts off the first 30 minutes with it clearly being a war movie. It is it's set in Afghanistan, and a dude gets, and it slowly tricks you into like, oh my God, he's a superhero. What? Same thing that Batman Begins did. I think there's going to be a backlash against it. And then it could be that they're going to ride that next wave.
All right. I haven't really been watching much because I was traveling. I did watch the Doctor Who this week, and I watched Transparent and The Shield, which we'll talk about. Christy, what have you been watching?
I have been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. now that we're talking about the Marvel Universe. The second season, I love it. I mean, I like how it's got kind of a darker tone to it. Are you guys watching any of it all?
I'm behind by a week or by the end of tonight, too.
Oh, I won't spoil for you then.
Yeah, but I did see the big reveal. The last episode I saw was the big reveal on Fitz.
Oh, I'm very sad about that. Yeah. That's very sad. I'm interested. I like the Fitzsimmons character, the dynamic between the two of them. And gosh, how do I not spoil this for you? So Simmons is off doing other things now, Tom.
Yes.
And we're watching Fitz suffer, and it's interesting how to watch his dynamic with the other characters and how they're kind of rallying around him. And I love the director Coulson, now that he's got kind of a different mission in mind, a different site. I just love it. I like the writing on it. I like the dialogue. I think it's really well done. I like the show a lot.
This is a really fun season. I'm really enjoying it, and I know what Simmons is up to. I've seen that.
I will say that we just finished this week with Penny watching The Winter Soldier, and I'm trying. I told her, I'm like, well, there's this whole S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show, and this is obviously a big deal that matters to these characters in this world. And Penny's like, I don't know. So I was like, I'm gonna try to seduce her and get her into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Is it funny?
Yeah, that's all she cares about. Well, it's like she's expanded her range. It used to be like, I only like it if it's funny. But then after watching all the Marvel Cinematic Universe, she's like, well, it's got to have like explosions and stuff.
Oh, you get that. You're going to get that in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You
Good.
can promise
Yeah.
her explosions.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And some funny. There's some funny.
Lots of funny. I've also been watching the. Have you guys seen the unofficial Firefly fan film called The Verse?
No.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Oh, it's great. It's written by fans and it's on YouTube. And it's just they kind of take all of the archetype characters, the Mal and the Kylie Fry and the Simon Tam, and they reinvent them and they twist them around a little bit. The production is amazing. It's just a typical Firefly story where they're on a mission to deliver their bounty, which is a girl. But I was so impressed with how they did it. They captured that Wild West in space feel of Firefly. The costumes are amazing. The sets are amazing. The dialogue with that Chinese American kind of dialect that they invented for the show. It's great. It's on YouTube. You guys, if you haven't seen it, it's great. You should watch it. I'm most impressed by this Firefly fan film than any other ones I've seen yet.
Awesome.
It's really good.
Yeah. Speaking of which, that's another one I think I can get away with introducing to Penny. That'll be my next
Firefly?
project. I'm gonna try to seduce her into watching Firefly, and then we'll watch The Verse.
Excellent. And I know, obviously, we'll talk in spoiler in time about Fargo, Transparent, Twin Peaks. What else have you been watching?
Cora, real quick, I have to confess, I'm a terrible person. You know, we try really hard to promote doing the legal thing, and we talked about how seasons of Cora were suddenly available on Nick.com after not being available, and how new episodes of season 4 were coming out only to Nick.com. Well, acting on that, I went on there and I tried to find season 3 to get all caught up, and something changed last week to this week, and the website was so awful, Tom, and I feel guilty saying this. Their website design was so awful and so painful and so bug-ridden and so unable to find the stuff that they've said is on there. There was 30-second pre-roll for the privilege of scrolling through the page before you clicked on the individual thing, and I got to admit, I clicked on a pirate site. I did it again, and meanwhile, the pirate site, this one had no porn ads. It was advertising other stuff. Everything was carefully arranged or whatever, and we ended up watching like 4 episodes of season 3 of Legend of Korra, which, by the way, season 3 is so good. It gets, I was not a fan of season 2. Season 3 gets so good, so fast. The villains are so rad. It reminds me of the bad guys from Superman 2. It's awesome. Awesome.
Brian.
I'm disappointed to announce that.
Brian.
Yes.
Brian.
What?
You wouldn't steal a policeman's helmet.
Okay. I mean, hey, for all I know, it's a legitimate site. It's
I think you wouldn't go to the toilet in that helmet and then deliver it to his grieving widow. I mean, come on.
All I know is that I just want. Look, they're almost doing the right thing. It's like, just do the right thing and make it easy. Make it easier than going to a pirate site. I hate it. At any rate, so we're watching Legend of Korra, and what's funny is. Real quick, and I know we're short on time. My 7-year-old, not really into Legend of Korra, so Penny, my 10-year-old, takes it upon herself to be like, no, Josie, you should watch the old ones. Goes back to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, and you don't realize how much this series has grown up over the last 8 years or whatever, because it's like the first episodes are cartoonish, and they kind of, really are meant for kids, and like all of a sudden Josie's in, and she gets the world and loves it because of the cartoonish over the top reactions. Outside of that, I've only been playing Far Cry, which we won't talk about, but Far Cry 3 is great.
All right, we don't have much time, but let's get to a couple of dispatches from the front.
Yeah.
I think my favorite of the bunch came from Fred in Pooler, Georgia, who told us about the fact that digital cable was really frustrating to his grandparents, and so they just want to go over the air, which is awesome. But he also, at the very end of his email, says, quick note, quit watching The Walking Dead mid-season 2, tried last season and quit. Brother tells me to watch current season's premiere. Holy crap, I think I'm in.
Man, I'm going to need more than that. Last time I asked you for 2 episodes in a row to prove to me that it was ready to go, but we never quite got there. And
I thought I gave you a go-ahead, and then you just didn't.
Yeah,
watch.
I think secretly I wanted 3 episodes in a row, and I think we were just shy of 3 episodes in a row that we must watch.
So I would have to tell you like 2 things, I think, to really help you appreciate this season opener. But this season opener was non-stop action. It was really good.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Pam writes us and says, do you guys have an explanation for why movies take so long to be available to rent? It's so frustrating to see DVDs to buy, but not to rent. I want to rent Catching Fire, which was released in 2013, and it's only available to buy. Grrr. Which I would say that the mere fact that you feel that way is why that exists. Is because...
Yeah, we kind of answered this earlier in the show when we talked about windowing.
Yeah.
The one thing I would do is go to a site like canistream.it. There's some better ones out there, and I can't remember the name anymore. But see if you're sure that it's not available anywhere else. And that is one of the things for people who are just getting into this to figure out. For instance, Catching Fire was streaming on Netflix. It's not anymore, but it is now streaming on Epix. So if you have access to Epix, you might be able to find it that way. But they move this stuff around because what they're trying to do is maximize the potential for making money, whether it's selling the DVD or selling the online video versions. They want to maximize making money, and they take away those rental options. And I'll tell you what, man, sometimes it doesn't make any sense to me. We wanted to rent Spider-Man 1 because we'd never seen it, because we were going to go watch Spider-Man 2 in the movie theater for various reasons that are unimportant. We were just going to have to go watch it. and we couldn't rent it online.
Yeah.
We would have had to buy it. So we ended up just not watching it because it wasn't that important to us. But again, they don't always make sense to your particular situation. But some mathematician somewhere, some accountant somewhere says that he thinks or she thinks this is the best way to maximize the profits. And so that's why they pull this little disappearing act.
But the good
I
news
find
is
it
that
even more aggravating. Oh, sorry, Brian.
Oh, no, go ahead, Christy.
Okay. I was gonna say I find it even more aggravating when you do find it and you go to watch it, or you save it for the weekend and then you go and it's just gone. Like you just can't get it all of a sudden. I don't get why they switch so quickly back and forth.
Well, here's
That's
the good
always
news
annoying.
is that windowing is getting shorter. Like the trends are obvious. Like we are getting closer and closer to more and more movies doing day and date over and over and over. And in fact, as we heard recently, there was a letter, somebody talking about how the Weinstein announcement of day and date was really just deployed just to get people talking about their stuff. That's great. The more of that, then the better for everyone. Do we have time for another one, Tom?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Let's do this. Melanie says, thanks for your show. Cut the cord about 3 years ago. Finding new shows has probably been the hardest part to get used to. Your shows helped me in this regard quite a few times. I wanted to pass along a show I stumbled upon on Netflix that I'm in love with called An Idiot Abroad. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And everyone on the planet tells me An Idiot Abroad is amazing.
It is. It's hilarious.
I still haven't
Have
seen it.
you guys not seen?
Yeah, no,
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's a guy named Carl who is just, no one can seem to figure out if he's actually this clueless or if he's play acting for the camera. Consensus is he's pretty clueless. He travels around and they throw him into these foreign situations and his reactions, priceless. It's very, very funny.
So instead of a Borat who's obviously fake, you get somebody who might actually be real.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And John recommends us check out Manhattan, which I've seen the ads for. That I guess is basically like Mad Men during the Manhattan Project in the 1940s, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Are you familiar with those? Have you seen the billboards? They essentially build this little government-run city of all these scientists, and as you can imagine, while they're busy developing a nuclear bomb, there's some kind of interpersonal issues that would be really interesting to hear.
And secrecy, obviously, a big part of it already, so that just plays into the drama.
Correct.
Yeah, nice. Thanks, John. Appreciate that. And Christy Cates, thank you for joining us. Always great to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it. I had fun, as
What
usual.
is it that we could promote of yours? Like, if people are Christy Cates fans, should they follow you on Twitter, or you got a website you want everyone to go to?
Yeah, I'm really active on Twitter. It's just at Christy Cates. ChristyCates.com is kind of the clearinghouse for my music. I'm editor of Pixis Magazine. There are links to that on there. So ChristyCates.com is where you can find all of it.
Two Ks, right? That's at KRISTIKATES on
.com.
That is correct.
.com. Hey, man, by the way, if anyone wants to write into us, we are cordkillers@gmail.com. We are trying to front load all those viewer responses as best we can. We didn't get to all of them this time, but we certainly hope to next time. You guys are our bosses, and we want you guys to guide the content that we see. So please,
even if we don't read it on the show, Brian reads every one of these out loud in an Irish lilt. So just imagine that as you're writing in.
Oh, look at this, Tom. Yet another person giving us the HBO story. Did you know that they're going independence?
I am a PC on my TV guy, and I love it. All right, thanks, everybody. Cordkillers@gmail.com, cordkillers.com, and patreon.com/cordkillers. Find out all the things. We'll see you next time. Doom, 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 doom.